Welcome, it's Denome, and welcome to this crypto update. Now, 2 weeks ago, I showed you guys this plan here that Bitcoin is likely to go to about 108K and from there to about 99K, and then we will likely have a bounce. And for the last 2 weeks, that plan has worked perfectly. Let me know in the comments if you were trading this with my help or if you found this analysis useful. If you did find it useful, make sure to like the video as well and consider even subscribing to the channel. In this video, we'll talk about where I think price will go in the short term. I will give you some price targets. We will look at the fundamentals, technical analysis, as well as I will give you updates on other factors regarding the crypto markets. Now, obviously, before we get started with anything else, if you have not signed up for Phemex.com, consider doing so. You are still eligible for these massive welcome rewards. You don't have to do KYC to get started. You can deposit and withdraw capital without KYC, and the fees are extremely low, basically half the fees compared to other exchanges when you use my affiliate link or this invitation code when you sign up for Phemex.com. So that's the promotion out of the way. Now, next, I will briefly talk about the Iran-Israel situation, and I'm not going to give a full lecture here, but in my opinion, Iran now has a chance to make peace with Israel and with USA, and it seems like Israel would also like a ceasefire. So Trump has basically said that they have completely bombed and obliterated the 3 nuclear facilities that Iran has. In my opinion, it's an act of war, but it is also basically a handout gesture for Iran to basically say that, okay, we can come back to the negotiating table and basically settle this thing out. The incentives for Iran, in my opinion, are there, but the facilities, in my opinion, aren't actually bombed. I think it's more of a theatrics, and now Iran has a chance to make peace. If it doesn't make peace, then I think USA will be drawn out for a longer war. Iran's foreign minister is now meeting with Putin or some Russian officials, and Iran is also backed with China, and obviously they want Iran to be sovereign country. It helps Russia, it helps China. So I don't think this will escalate much further. But if it does, I would not be surprised either, because Trump has been very, very unpredictable and I would say even reckless and crazy. But I don't know, maybe there's a master plan that we simply don't know, and that will be laid out in the short term. Now, over the weekend, we heard news that Iran would block this pathway here, and this is an important pathway because 1/5 of global oil passes through this area. So oil from Kuwait, oil from Iraq, oil from Saudi Arabia, and oil from Qatar and Bahrain are actually flowing through this pathway here. Now, it's not the end of the world if Iran closes this, but I think if they do, then there will be massive war and a lot of casualties, and that will obviously shake the whole global trade, and it will also shake the energy markets. Maybe oil will double in price. And Yemen has also said that they will close this pathway as well. And if they both do that, Europe is here, and then basically trade between Europe and Asia is basically completely halted if both of these pathways are under heavy attacks. So I hope Iran and Israel and USA can find peace, but if they do escalate from here, then basically everything changes from that point onwards. So I hope it doesn't happen, but we will have to monitor and see how the situation continues. Now, for the nuclear facilities that Trump has basically bombed, he said that they are completely obliterated. I don't think that is the case. I feel like the attacks were more of a theatrics because the International Atomic Energy Association, they have said that there's no radiation leakage anywhere. So at least the nuclear material was not hit, at least from the reports that I got. So Trump is saying that they were completely obliterated. So Iran basically has a handout to make peace with USA and Israel right now. And it seems like Israel also would like to have a ceasefire. So let's see how things continue to go from there. I'm not going to talk about more on this issue. Now let's focus on crypto. Metaplanet has bought an additional 1,111 Bitcoin over the last week. Now they hold 11,111 Bitcoin. And this is, they always find these round, interesting numbers here. I don't know how or why they are able to buy so interesting numbers each week. I don't know if there's some paper Bitcoin involved or why they do this. It's weird, but these are the numbers that they report. So I'm just going to give it here. So demand continues. Also, Michael Saylor once again is saying that they will be buying more Bitcoin in the next 12 to 24 hours. A publicly traded company from UK has bought 104 Bitcoin valued at 8.1 million pounds. And a French publicly traded company, Blockchain Group, has bought another 182 Bitcoin worth 17 million euros. And then uh, uh, well, this is not exactly related, but the X platform, uh, they are now building their everything app once again. Now, I don't know if this will ever come out because already through last year, we were supposed to see the X payment system go live, and we basically saw nothing. And even to this year, we haven't seen anything. So maybe at some point we will be able to make investments and trades on X, but I take this with a grain of salt because this was supposed to be done a year ago already. So that's the situation there. And then Inovia has raised $50 million to launch Hype token treasury strategy. So last week I told you guys about the Tron network company, and they went ahead and bought the SRM Entertainment. And when I made that video, the price was about $7-8 here. And from there, the price has already gone up over 30%. So if you bought after I made that video, congratulations for you guys. You are now holding a uh, beautiful upside already. Throughout this week, let's see how things go. TRX already went a little bit down from last week, but this stock price actually went up. So let's see how Monday actually opens. But all in all, that was a nice victory for us as well. But the Inovia, they are basically doing the same thing as Tron Network is now doing with SRM Entertainment. So they are basically holding a public company from United States to hold hype tokens in treasury. So the altcoin for the US stock market theory that I laid out last week is now basically playing out. So I guess more companies will do something similar like that also in the future. Then Thailand, it has actually come out and said that they will give an exemption for crypto trading taxes. So basically zero taxes as long as you trade on Thailand's licensed crypto asset services. I don't exactly know the markets. I think they are pretty closed in Thailand. So uh, it's usually on the list of countries that you cannot, for example, use Binance with or some other exchanges. So I don't exactly know how this market works. But if they make a tax-free crypto trading, that could be a place where you guys could consider getting a tax residency too. So that was at least interesting that they have this plan here. So pretty good news for crypto traders, at least in Thailand. Then looking at fundamentals, let's actually first look at the ETF side. Even though we have had this war and escalation, what has happened on the ETF side is more accumulation, and that has been quite interesting. What I would expect early this week is actually a red number because some investors, they get scared during times like this. I wouldn't be surprised to see a red candle here for the start of the week, basically anticipating a sell-off of US stocks in the early week. So that's basically my expectation. What we will see here. Now I could be wrong here, but at least it's interesting that the ETF investors were continuing to buy throughout the escalations in Iran-Israel war. Now, looking at the fundamentals, first looking at sentiment.net, uh, we've been tracking this supply of Bitcoin on exchange reserves going down, but all through this time, we actually saw an increase of Bitcoin going into exchanges. And this what here was signaling that there's going to be sell pressure for Bitcoin in the short term, basically indicating that the price would go more down in the short term. And that's basically what has happened. Now, right now, this pressure seems to have halted, so let's see how it continues. But I'm happy to see that at least more Bitcoin is not really entering exchanges, but I would like to see is this to go down again. Then on the stablecoin front, throughout last week, we basically did not see any uh, new mints of stablecoins. So that is not what we want to see. So this week is going to be super critical for Bitcoin, that we want this trend to continue to go to the upside. If we see another flat week for stablecoin market cap, then I will get a little bit worried over the next week that we might see further downside. So let's see how that continues. On the positive side, when we look at old Bitcoin that hasn't been moved for a long time, throughout this dump here, we're not really seeing old Bitcoin being moved on the markets. So the old capital is not really panicking in this time and age, and that is good to see. This is basically giving me an idea that most likely we will not see much more downside, at least in the immediate term. And then what was interesting throughout this whole time period is also when I look at the sizes of wallets, and I look at the red line, which is showing wallets that are holding 10,000 to 100,000 Bitcoin in their wallets. You can see that they basically been accumulating over this dump here. And that is nice to see that large wallets are increasing in their Bitcoin holdings. That's, in my opinion, good to see. So all in all, these factors all look pretty good. And then when I hop over to CryptoQuant, this is another place where I look at fundamentals every now and then. There's something very interesting here. And for that, I actually want to scroll all the way down to UTXO-H bands. This is a similar indicator that we were looking at before. And let me actually look at the last year moves here. So what's interesting in this chart is I'm tracking old wallets that have held Bitcoin for more than 10 years. You can basically see that the amount of Bitcoin in those wallets is unchanged. The very old wallets that have held Bitcoin for more than 10 years, they are not selling basically any of their Bitcoin. If anything, as you can see over time, this number keeps increasing at the bottom of the screen. And that is a good indicator that really old money, they are not selling. And also when you look at the orange line here above the green line, that's where you see the biggest change. So Bitcoin that has been idle for 7 to 10 years, that is increasing in a large portion of the total Bitcoin supply, and they are not selling at all. So a large chunk of very old Bitcoin is basically it keeps increasing in amounts. Now, when I look at Bitcoin amounts that haven't been moved for 5 to 7 years, that is actually going down, but at the same time, that is roughly the same amount. Basically, the uh, purple area is becoming the orange area, is basically what I'm getting at. They are not really selling because otherwise the red line would be overtaking the purple area, but that's not the case. So old Bitcoin holders, they are basically still holding their Bitcoin. It's this 3 to 5 year holding wallets that have done some selling throughout this time. Also, the green line has gone down a little bit, the blue line has gone down a little bit, but also at the very top here, the pink line, that is actually increasing in size as well. So that is indicating that it's these mid-term holders here that have basically been selling their Bitcoin, but the long-term holders are not selling their Bitcoin. And these short-term holding wallets, they are actually increasing their holdings as well. So we're seeing basically massive accumulation throughout Bitcoin holders throughout this time. And that is very, very, very nice to see. That's what I like as well. So all in all, fundamentally speaking, Bitcoin looks very strong, and there's really no reason to think that Bitcoin would go to something like 50K in basically any time frame at this stage. In the short term, when I look at the fundamentals, looking at the order book depth, here we got the signals that the buyers are basically coming in on the order books. And I was talking about this. I made some tweets about it as well. We saw some spikes in the upside here. And this whole area is where we are seeing a lot of accumulation. So this fear between Iran, Israel, USA, people are basically still accumulating Bitcoin and they want to snatch Bitcoin with limit orders. That is nice to see. And also, as you can see down here, you can see futures markets have been happy to buy Bitcoin as well. So limit orders have been, limit buyers have been happy to snatch more Bitcoin at a little bit lower prices. Now, as you can see, we are seeing a little bit red here, but that is typical when we see a small pump to the upside. Nothing too concerning. I don't think Bitcoin is in a bubble area, so I think what we will see in the short term is actually a little bit more upside based on this factor here, because the buyers are just happy to buy. Also, when we look at the liquidation heat map, I've been talking about this zone here below 100K to 99K, that this hot zone is likely to be taken out, and that's why I was calling for this about 99K price drop to take out this liquidation zone here, and from there we can have a bounce. So in the short term, Bitcoin looks good. So now looking at the technicals, this is basically the chart that I'm currently looking at, is basically a bull flag. Now it's very important for Bitcoin to not go below this bull flag here, because when if it goes all the way down here, and then this bull flag will basically be taken out and will likely go uh, much further. But even though I would like this bull flag to hold, uh, I don't think it will actually hold. Like technically speaking, it would be perfect. We go to like a 108K once again and something like this, and then to the upside. But what I feel like is more likely to happen is this. On the RSI perspective, the RSI here gave us a I'm trying to hit it. Okay, I got it. So the RSI here, this was what happened previously when Bitcoin went parabolic. We got these higher lows on the RSI. And when we got the final touch here, that was basically when Bitcoin went parabolic to the upside. And I was reporting to you guys that Bitcoin is about to do the same, but now the RSI has fallen below that trend line. So now it actually tells me that Bitcoin wants more downside. But it doesn't happen immediately. Now, currently, in my opinion, the forces are bullish in the short term. What I believe will happen is maybe if I draw like this. This is basically where I think Bitcoin wants to go in the short term. It wants to go to about 105K. And there, most likely, Bitcoin will be heading for this line again. And there is a decision time for Bitcoin. Will it pump back to the upside, or will it want to go and basically go to the downside? And what I believe will happen, more likely than go to the upside here, is that we actually go down. And then we go and tag RSI 30 one more time. Basically back to this low again. That is what the markets are currently telling me. There's some even though there's accumulation, we're seeing all of these things. I feel like there's a lot of uncertainty on the markets as well. Now, Trump could come out with a tweet and everything changes once again, but this is basically just talking about probabilities. This is basically what the chart is currently telling me, that Bitcoin would like to go back to roughly RSI 30 in the 1 day chart. Another reason why I think Bitcoin wants to go here is obviously when we take a look at the liquidation heat map, this 90K area here is another liquidation hot spot, and a lot of long positions would get liquidated in this area here. Now, obviously, there's a lot of liquidations here in all the way basically to $114,000. So it's just a matter of time before we go there. But right now, the momentum is breaking to the downside. So that's why I think we will see more downside after we have this small relief rally here. Another reason why I think about 91K, 90K is where Bitcoin will have a bounce is actually not this support line here. I don't think that will hold. I think what's more important than that is when we take a look at the Bitcoin futures markets, because there's this annoying uh, CME gap, basically all the way down to $91,500. And I've talked about this in the past, but CME caps is what big investors, market makers, these are their signals. So when Bitcoin goes to these CME gaps, that's when their bots fire and that's when they buy Bitcoin. And there's this big gap here at 91K, 91.5K. It's also the liquidation zone. So those two things together, they act as a magnet, and Bitcoin would like to go there. So if Bitcoin breaks this current support line roughly here, it's likely that we go to 96K, maybe a bounce from there back to the upside a little bit, and then we go to 91K. And that will basically be the Bitcoin bottom. That's basically what I'm currently seeing in the markets. And also why I think the markets will have nice upside basically this week is because here we have another CME gap now forming above the current price range. And this would take us to about $103,500. So it's likely that we go a little bit higher here first, and then we dive back to the downside afterwards. That's what the markets are currently telling me. And that's basically everything. No, actually, I do want to talk about altcoin. So I've been talking about the LDO for a long time now. I think it's one of the best altcoins in the market. I don't really understand at the moment why this is not doing what I wanted to do, why it's diving to the downside so much. But now, once again, is giving us a historical buying opportunity at 66 cents. LDO, it is the largest liquid staking DeFi project for Ethereum. 30% of Ethereum supply is staked through Lido DAO platform, and also the Polygon token allows liquid staking on Lido DAO as well. And I don't know if in the future some other protocols will use Lido DAO as well for their liquid staking services. So this is, in my opinion, a historical buying opportunity, and I had to double down on it, even though I'm holding a losing pack already. I'm just buying more Lido with prices like this. Now, historically speaking, when we look at the Lido DAO price, there has been a couple of times when the Lido DAO has been cheaper. So there is some chance that we might see prices like 40 cents or 50 cents from these current price levels. But all in all, I think Ethereum eventually will flip bullish, and then Lido DAO, because it is the top staked Ethereum platform on the planet, it will have a mega pump to the upside. So this is what I'm currently accumulating. So basically that's everything I had for this video. I hope you guys liked it. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys on the next one, and bye bye.